Now, you coming into this with the Two of Cups, this tells me that at some point you felt like you understood this person, they understood you, there was this connection, the relationship was good. With the King of Pentacles on their side, now, this could be the person you're dealing with, could be another earth sign, male, female, doesn't matter to me. But if this is the way that they're showing themselves, they may have been a little bit more focused on their own personal gain rather than the relationship. That, or you were really understanding that there were some things that they needed to deal with in terms of their career, things like that, right? Because the King of Pentacles, I look at this as somebody who has the ability to make a relationship successful. But the way that it looks to me is like, because of their inability to make a choice and them more focused on what they're going to gain from something, ends up causing them to want to restart. But I think that the Three of Swords in this case is them literally creating their own heartbreak when it comes to you. Now, looking at the Wheel of Fortune and them looking at the Nine of Wands, first of all, especially with the Seven of Cups being the overall, the Wheel of Fortune here in this case is going to be like, this is one of those things that you're used to having to deal with when it comes to this. It's like every time that you get involved with this person, nothing actually gets realized the way that you want it to be, right? And it's not that you're in fantasy land about anything, and I don't think it's about other options or other choices here. It's just that, you know, you can see how good things can be, but it's not being realized. But is that because of the other person? Because they're the ones here that move into this place where they're trying to create a new beginning with you, but they fail, I think. Now, going back to the wheel, you're not done with this yet, because it's not, I don't think that it's finished for you. And what I mean by that is, I look at this as, I still have something to learn from this, or I still have something to experience from this. That's why this is coming back around again. We're looking at a new cycle with this. We're going back to the start. But the thing is looking at the Nine of Wands for them, I think that for a while they may have been like blocking you out almost. And I don't necessarily feel like, here's what I'm getting from this, and it bothers me because I don't see anything on your side that's suggesting that you've put them through anything that was extremely difficult. I think that if anything, they need to take responsibility for that. But why is it that when it comes to this relationship coming around again, they like don't want you to come in? It's like they're not letting you in. And it's not that they need to protect themselves from you or anything like that, but the Nine of Wands is just a little bit too defensive here in this case. But the thing is I think you're used to this. It's almost like you think you have an understanding with this person and everything is going okay, but here we go again. Now they're blocking you out. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if I want to have this relationship in my life right now. And again, I go back to, you know, what this person is thinking in terms of what they can gain, which is, again, why we're looking at the Seven of Cups. If that makes sense. It's like every time you think everything is going okay, they go back and it's like, what the hell, you know? What is it that you want? What do you want? Now, here we go again, and they're bringing this offer to you. And this may be something that they didn't want to do, or they felt like, you know, maybe I shouldn't do this, but nope, here's the Ace of Cups, right? We're not done. And I do think that they want to have a new start with you. And they want to renew the love, so to speak. But you're looking at it from a perspective of, if I'm going to put in the effort toward this, you're going to have to do the same. We have to work on this together, right? But I think that you realize that there are some things that are not going to be able to be moved on from when it comes to this person on an emotional level. Because we're talking about, you know, with the King of Cups here, this person needing to get over their emotional issues and stop living in this place of what could be and start actually making it reality. Not saying, okay, I want to take this option now. I want to offer it to you, but I didn't want to do it before, but I don't know what I really want. And I think that that's where you're coming in with the Six of Swords. Like, what the hell? Why can't you just like, let's move on here? Now for you, it could be, this person is too conflicting for me. I think I need to move on from this. Now, with the Three of Swords coming out, that may be where they're going to be like feeling this heartbreak. But the thing is that they couldn't fucking decide what they want in the first place. All right. The Five of Wands, Justice, and Temperance. And I think that this is where you start to pull back. So first of all, one of the things that I'm getting from this here is every time that there's any kind of communication in terms of what this person feels, they keep it to themselves. And there is this constant like, why can't you talk to me about how you feel? And it's like feeling like every time that this conversation comes up, they're back and forth. And that may be what's creating, you know, this kind of like argument or disagreement here, or not understanding this person. I don't think that you're intentionally trying to cause any petty arguments at all, because you're coming into this saying, well, great, if you're offering this to me, then yeah, let's work on this, right? But then you move into this place where you realize that maybe I need to move on from this person. But I think it's because every time emotions get brought up, they don't know what the hell they want. They don't know what the hell they want. I think that they are keeping things to themselves with the High Priestess here, with the Three of Cups following that. It could be that they don't want to open up to their emotions because they may have, you know, other people around them, other influences. Could be, it could definitely, with Three of Swords, it could be a third party, right? But that's not going to be for everybody. But the thing is that if they are not going to open up on an emotional level, if we're not talking about an outside influence here, this is like lack of support, lack of understanding, where you thought you understood this person. They're not bringing that to the table. And when you look at Justice, I think that for you, this is really about, okay, now I need to start doing what is right for me. Now, definitely this person could be trying to make amends for something that they were, you know, trying to like, it's almost like they were trying to make it sound like it was less than what it actually was. And every time that you may have brought up the conversation, they like immediately made you feel like, you know, well, this is stupid. Why is this, you know, conversation coming up? We shouldn't be talking about this, right? But the thing is they're showing the High Priestess here with the Three of Cups. Now, it could be that, you know, there's argument on whether or not something is being finalized when it comes to another person, right? But the thing is besides that, though, the reason why you're moving on may have to do with another person here that they're not doing anything about, right? It's like, well, I want to be with you, but I look at this as a fantasy because I've got, you know, this going on. But the thing is when you're not around, they're heartbroken about it, but yet they're not willing to do anything about, you know, if there is another person or a third party, or if they need to get a divorce, things like that, right? Now, and that's specific. Generally speaking, Justice is going to be about, you know, what is right for you, especially if they're not going to give you the emotional support that you need. You know, because this King of Cups ain't doing it. He's not doing it. But there are, you know, things that he just kind of keeps to himself, though, with the High Priestess. You know, and at any time that you try to find out about it, they make you feel like you're the one causing problems, is what I feel like with the Five of Wands. Now, coming out of this, though, with the Four of Cups and then looking at Temperance, right? I don't think that, it's almost like they're looking at that cup that they tried to offer you, and it's like, you know, it should have been filled. Like, it should have been filled, but I think it's their own fault, because there's no point in getting into these conversations where you're not willing to let everything come out in the open. But I think that Temperance is you backing off from this and realizing that there's a need to move on from this. There's going to come a point where you're going to realize that this person is just too conflicted and it's time to go, right? And I don't think that you're being complacent or trying to keep the peace with this person or anything like that. I think that this is you realizing, I need some fucking peace and tranquility. I can't keep dealing with this. I can't keep putting in the effort and then having this person not do what's necessary to do the same. Especially when it comes to how they feel. They can't. It's like they can't follow through on it. It's like it was a good idea at the time, but, you know, when it comes to follow through, they won't do what's necessary. Now, I don't think that they're losing interest in you, because they wouldn't be feeling the heartbreak if that was the case. But I also think that nothing else brings them any fulfillment, but I don't think they even know what's going to make them happy. I think that the romantic feelings here is you wanting to explore some feelings that you have about a person who you can't. It's like with looking at the Seven of Swords, it's like every time you try, you can't make the connection. Now, I kind of look at this though as you put yourself out there and you kind of enjoy what you can get from this person, but the thing is you're not comfortable with what they're offering in terms of the relationship, which is why we're looking at the Ten of Swords and it kind of like comes to an end. And let me just say that for those of you who are looking at a person right now, and they may look really good and they may be really attractive, right, with the Emperor being there, whether they're male or female, or Aries for that matter. They look really good on the surface. But the problem is that there's nothing else that they can actually offer you in like the relationship sense other than the physical passion or, the hookup, right? It's like they can't give anything else. It's like there's nothing you have in common. That's what I want to say. But yet, you're still putting yourself out there, or this is the other person, right? But with the Eight of Wands, we're just enjoying the time together. That's it. It's not really going anywhere from there, especially with the Eight of Swords, because somebody becomes uncomfortable with where things are going. Yeah, it was just a quick in and out passion. I would just say to Virgos right now that are focused on somebody and you really want to grab their attention, the problem is that this person may not be the right fit for you, or they're not going to give you what you need later on. It's only based on physical contact and passion, but they don't have it within them to make something of this, to make this, a relationship that could be long lasting. And I think that you're going to be forced to realize this, and you might have to be the one here that ends it. I don't necessarily think that this person does. I think that you're going to be the one that does that. Like, you enjoy the passion. I think that you enjoy having that contact with this person, but there are parts about this that don't make you feel comfortable. And like I said, I don't think that this person is comfortable with taking it anywhere else other than, just like I said, the physical attraction and contact. But with the Ten of Pentacles, yeah, this is about self-reflection. Is this really who you want to be? Is this really the relationship that you want to be involved with? You may be enjoying that time, and you may be putting yourself out there for that person. But they have a very kind of like pushy and dominant type of personality, but you have nothing in common other than that. But, right? Like, if you feel like you want to explore it, go for it. But I would just say don't really expect much in terms of like long-term relationship or love or romance. And I hate putting it that way, but right, I'm just calling it like I see it here. If we're talking about healing issues within the relationship, the family, the Three of Cups is a good indicator that at some point, somebody was wanting to mend those issues. I always talk about the Three of Cups and the Nine of Swords about this is having to do with people getting back together. One is more easier than the other. The Three of Cups is a good thing, right? Now, with the Knight of Pentacles, though, it's like somebody kind of backs off, but they're not ending the relationship. Because when you look at the Knight of Pentacles, right, we would look at this as like friend zone, or, somebody who's like, oh, I appreciate that, but I don't know if I really want it, in terms of an offer. But I think that somebody is like trying to change their tactics in terms of how they're going to heal a situation or make things better with you. But when you look at the moon and death, man, something needs to change within the relationship where we're not in, the fantasy mode anymore or illusions, right? Something needs to change. Now, the moon typically would be about, living out your fantasy, people fantasizing about each other. But the thing is that the relationship has changed to the point where it's not like that anymore. So I kind of look at that as like the fantasy about this relationship. Something about it may have died and it's changing. The relationship is changing now because of it. And that may be because, when you have tried to make a connection, somebody else may have been like, well, not right now, like not right now. They're not fighting with you or like trying to break up or anything like that. It's like, I don't have it in me right now. So that may kind of like kill the illusion that you have had around this person. And then you move into the Eight of Pentacles, and I feel like that's kind of like you, where it's like, I'm going to start to focus on me right now. There are other things that need my attention, and I can't do this. Like, I don't have the time for this right now. But somebody is really wanting to get the relationship back on track, and that is the good news with the Chariot. Okay, and then you have the Three of Wands. And I think that this is where, there is an attempt to at least try to understand where you are both coming from. So I kind of look at this as, okay, now we understand each other, and maybe that can start to help, get the relationship back on track, because you're talking about two people who are like, I feel the same way. Oh my God, I feel the same way. You have Temperance. It's a slow process, right? And the Knight of Pentacles would indicate that though too. It's interesting how Temperance seems to keep showing up for Virgo. I'm noticing this even with like, the quick reads, the live readings. Temperance keeps showing up. So in this case though, we need to slowly start to build the passion back up. We can't just jump into this, right? But I do think that there is going to be some healing here with this relationship. It's just going to take some time. And I think that when you get to a place where, somebody finally recognizes that somebody is not happy, that's when things can slowly start to build. But I do think that the Eight of Pentacles would be you. I would just say that if you need some time to kind of get over the fact that the fantasy that you had around this relationship has died, be honest with this person and open about it, but don't push them off for like ever. Like, give them a chance if they want to try to get the relationship back on track, right?